This call is being recorded.
Hello, everyone. Again, this is Renee Rentmeester, the Cooking Without Looking TV show and podcast, and we've got someone really special. We are all starting to travel again after this pandemic. So today we have Cheryl Echevarria of Echevarria Travel. Good morning, Cheryl.
Good morning, Renee, and thank you for having me on your show. And yes, people are starting to travel again, and it's amazing. In fact, yesterday the first cruise went out in 15 months out of Fort Lauderdale. So we're all excited about traveling again.
You know, after this pandemic, how did this pandemic treat you, by the way?
Well, for me, it really, I had people traveling. I mean, thank God I don't just do cruising. That's part of my business. I do full service travel planning by land and by sea. And I did have people going to the Caribbean. I had people traveling throughout the United States. The Caribbean was opened. They did have some hiccups in the beginning, but people traveling with negative PCR tests and social distancing, and some people had to wear masks inside the hotels. But they traveled and enjoyed it, so people were traveling during the pandemic. So it was, like I said, the cruise industry was dead, but people that really wanted to travel traveled, and they contacted me to get to go through the myths of what they need and didn't need, and there's so many changes in the travel industry now that came out of it. A lot of things have changed for the better.
Well, I just want to let everyone know that, of course, everyone who listens to the Cooking Without Looking podcast knows everyone's either blind or visually impaired. Tell us a little bit about your blindness.
Well, I became blind after being a type 1 diabetic since the age of 12 at the age of 35. I had diabetic retinopathy from, I guess, my 20s until I was about 35. And then I lost full vision out of my left eye from a detached retina. And my right eye, I could still have some vision, but it's like looking through a tunnel. So on good days, I see clearer than other days, but I have no peripheral vision there. At the same time, I went on dialysis, and that didn't help my vision very much. I was on hemodialysis from 2002 to 2005. I had a life-saving kidney transplant from a good friend of mine. That lasted 15 years, and now I'm back on dialysis, and I do PD, which is peritoneal dialysis, and that's where you could do it at home, and I could still travel and enjoy life. Being blind, I use the white cane. I still use it from time to time. I had a guide dog for about 14 years. I just put him down in August. He was getting old and sick, but he was the best dog in the world. His name was Max. And, unless people really pay attention, they don't really know I'm blind because I'm very, very independent. I do use my husband as sighted guide if I need. I do have the cane. I do a lot of working with advocating for the blind in all the travel industry, as well as, I service everyone, and especially those, as we know, a lot of people that are blind also have maybe secondary or thirdary health issues, which I have dealt with: the wheelchairs, scooters, oxygen, food allergies, almost anything. And I believe that when there's a will, there's a way, and as long as people are patient and willing to be flexible and maybe alternative forms of travel, that anybody can travel as long as they want to.
I just want to mention right here, Cheryl, that anytime anyone comes to me and wants a reference for someone who is a great travel agent for people who have some sort of a disability, doesn't have to be blindness, whatever it is, and I just recently did this, I always recommend you.
Yes, and in fact, tonight I have a group that would like to go to Hawaii, in December, and they have multiple disabilities, and I'll be doing a Zoom chat with them tonight. So thank you for that referral.
Well, no problem whatsoever. This is a great niche market because I think many people uh, in this day and age often instead of getting a travel agent, they hop on their computer and hunt things down. But you're very specialized and you're very necessary, especially with the baby boomers coming up and things.
Well,
What do you have
especially
to
me
say?
being a baby boomer myself. I mean, 90% of my clients are 45 and older, and they're active. You hear it today. People live to 100, and they still have all their faculties and stuff like that. Or you hear about the 90-year-old man that jumped from, parachuting, or they're going zip lining, and you know what? They have more time to travel, and they're healthier than they've ever been. And most of my clients want to spend and enjoy the time that they have traveling instead of doing the 3-day cruise getaway. You know what I'm saying? They really are looking to spend the time to travel and enjoy where they're going to versus, oh, I just want to go to Italy for 5 days and come home kind of thing. They want to spend the time and enjoy their travel experiences.
Well, do you have any travel tips for people who are blind or visually impaired?
I do. And number one, I always say be flexible and be patient. Meaning that, as we all know, with anything, even people non-disabled, that we all have our own training or things that we've learned in life how to do things. And I always, speak to my clients on the phone with empathy and not sympathy because I've been there, done that. And I always ask, are you able to travel independently or do you actually need somebody to travel with you? Because as we know, we can be great independent in our house, around our neighborhood, but if it's a new place, we definitely need somebody to travel with us. And I always recommend that if you don't have a friend or family member, we do have people you could hire out that can travel with you. Plan ahead. If you're looking to travel maybe on a cruise or a land travel, always, and I tell this to everybody, 6 months to a year out. Always plan that because you can do payment plans. Everybody's on a budget, including myself. And we all know many people who are blind are on disability. They don't. Some of us do not work. I'm lucky enough to have a business, but not everybody's in the same position we are in. And if you plan out far enough ahead, anybody can travel anywhere. I do have tips about how you could save money in the bank. Put $1 away every day, or or double it. I actually work with a financial planner that I have had on Talk Travel with Cheryl, which is a weekly podcast radio show that I do on Facebook Live that gives travel tips. I work with all my tour operators and also small business owners, and we do try to also include special needs clients so they know that what services are out there, especially for saving money. The other tip I have is when you're traveling via air, there is a program called TSA cares, like the TSA we hear all the time about security at the airports. Now, there is a number that I always give my clients. It's an 800 number when they book with me, and you need to call 72 hours prior to arriving at the airport. And you call that, and you're speaking to a real person who will give you the name and phone number of that person who is in charge of accessible needs at that particular airport, and they'll either let you know where they'll meet you the day of flight. They'll ask you if you need a wheelchair or scooter or transport from the gate to the gate. Sometimes these airports have really long walking areas, and even myself who can walk, sometimes that gate to gate can be very taxing if you're, in a rush to get somewhere. So they do have the transfers between checking in and the gate to help you get there. If you have using a service animal or cane, or you have metal on your body like I do, you don't want to go through the metal detector. You want to let the TSA person know to wand you, or else sometimes that could show up, or it could actually the X-rays can actually damage the product that you're wearing, or may even throw off something that you really don't want to have happening. So those are some things I recommend. Also, if have food allergies, if you need the scooter or wheelchair, you plan out ahead. And don't be afraid to let people like myself who specialize, like you said, mostly in blind travelers. I don't do a lot of mobility disabled people that are in wheelchairs, but I have done it because I have used wheelchair and scooters and oxygen, and I know how to rent you one for your trip and get it for you at the airports and stuff. But it's mostly planning, and you need to plan ahead, especially with somebody with a disability. And like I said, to be flexible. Sometimes I might not be able to find a tour guide that is understandable about the needs of somebody that's visually impaired, or a tour of some place you want to go to. So I might have to take a little longer to find that option for you. And I always let people know, hey, I might not be able to do this because it may not exist in that country, especially if we're going outside of the United States. We all have to remember the Americans with Disabilities Act, it only covers us here in the United States, and there are countries out there that recognize people with disabilities and service animals, etc. But we also have to realize also there are many countries out there that do not. And I've actually, unfortunately, got into arguments with some people who have either a service animal or don't quite understand why they can't bring their service animal or why can't they get a tour? Why doesn't this country understand my needs? It's just that, that country still needs to improve upon their ADA or accessible travel needs. So, basically, like I said, the best form of advice I could give my clients is do not go on Expedia, do not go to Costco. If you have a special need, go to a real travel professional. I am 100% virtual, but I am a real person. And speak to somebody, because you may get stuck, and even this day and age where airlines are canceling flights, they're going by standby, there's not enough people at the airport to help, and everybody just needs to have patience and be flexible. That's the best advice I could give for this right now.
Well, Cheryl, you've traveled the world. You must have some amazing travel
Well,
stories.
I haven't traveled the world, but I want to travel the world. I've traveled a lot, but there's still places that I definitely want to see. But please finish your question. I cut you off. I do apologize.
No problem. You must have some good travel stories, though.
Oh, I do. Some of my favorite travel stories are I've gone to, one of my favorite places is Jamaica, the island of Jamaica. And people think, oh, that place is so dangerous. And I keep telling people, every place you travel is dangerous if you don't know where you're going. And I love Jamaica. I love the food. I like the activities there. I love that the people understand my needs out there. I walked up Dunn's River Falls, which is the great waterfalls in Oceria, where you become a human chain of other people and you walk up the falls. I've done Monterey Bamboo River. If you're a romantic and you're married and have a significant other, that is the most romantic, refreshing place to take with a spouse or a friend or something like that. You go down these calm waters of Jamaica and your guy picks you a coconut and you drink the coconut milk and you enjoy the I mean, you don't have to see the sounds of the birds and listening to the waters and putting your hand in the cold water and touching the fish. It's amazing. And then the other experience I have in Jamaica is that I've gone to uh, the official bird of Jamaica is the hummingbird, and they have a beautiful hummingbird sanctuary there. And you hold a tiny sugar bottle of water, and they come on you and they drink it, and you could actually feel their wings against your face and against your body, and you know they're there. I mean, you try to touch them, and they're so fast they fly away, but it's an amazing experience, and the food there and the people, and yeah, we love Jamaica. Our My all-time favorite destination is Walt Disney World here in Orlando, Florida. And even though there's so many things that have changed there and with their reservation processes and everything, since I was 7, been going there, going to Magic Kingdom, brought my daughter when she was sweet 16 there. We spent the time with me and my husband and my daughter. I had a mother-daughter trip in 2011 with her. And now we're going back for our 29th wedding anniversary in November. So I tell everybody, Walt Disney World is not just for kids. It's about making memories, and they are awesome. Awesome. Number one for people with disabilities. Whether it's Walt Disney World, Disneyland, their cruise ships, and my favorite place to travel by cruise ship right now is Bermuda. It's a great place to go out of New York. You stay there for 3 days while you're on the ship. And there's so many places that I just want to see. I tell everybody the world is my oyster, and I want to travel the world and see almost everything while I can.
Well, I love the way you put that. The world is your oyster. And speaking of oysters, well, maybe not really. I hear that you make an amazing banana bread.
Oh, I do. I love to bake. My original outlook in life when I was outside of college, I wanted to go to the culinary arts and be a baker, and that's changed when I married my first husband. But I love to bake, and I live in Florida where I get tons of fresh fruit, and I'm always baking something new, and I love baking banana bread, and it's really, really easy. But the trick with banana bread is you gotta wait till they're really, really soft and almost black to get the sweetness out of them. And you start out by mashing the bananas, and you put in a cup of butter and 2 cups of flour and a cup of sugar. I try to cut back on the sugar a little bit at a time because I'm diabetic, but I eat enough that I have just enough sweetness out of it. And let's see, baking powder. I put a lot of cinnamon in mine because my husband and I are cinnamon freaks, so we put cinnamon in there. Um, 2 eggs. It's very easy. You just it's a very it's called a quick bread, so you don't really it's not really like a cake. It's really like a quick bread. And then I mix that all up. And if I have any extra fruit lying around, like blueberries or peaches or strawberries, I'll stick them in there as well. And it's great for breakfast or just a snack during the day. So I really, that's something you'll always have in my house when you come. You always smell banana bread cooking, and that's one of my favorite things to make.
Wow, that sounds amazing. And the other fruits too. You had mentioned before we started talking about the peaches, putting peaches, making a peach bread as well.
Well, in peach cake, it's just a basic white cake. It's almost like a pineapple upside down cake, but instead of pineapple, you use peaches. And like you said, since I live in the great state of Florida, I'm near all the farms here in Polk County, near Plant City, which all the farms are located in the great state of Florida. And if you're not sure where that is, I originally moved to Orlando from New York about 4 years ago, and Polk County is right next to Orlando or Orange County. It's the next county over. It's the largest county in Florida. So we're in between Tampa and Orlando. and it's also called the Land of Lakes because we have the most lakes in the state of Florida. And we have Legoland out here and many other great places to visit that are accessible to many people out here that are disabled. But I get to go to the produce market almost every Friday or Saturday with my husband, and we get strawberries and blueberries and mangoes and all that. We're big fruit people, and it's good for you as well. And we just get the best of the fresh fruit, and whatever at the end of the week that's going bad, I just turn into a cake or a pie or a bread.
That's a great idea. I know because as you say, you have to use the older bananas for your banana bread. And oh, mangoes. Do you like using mangoes in anything?
Well, smoothies, definitely smoothies. You could also bake with mango as well. I got a new recipe from a lady here that I met that is also from Puerto Rico. My husband is Puerto Rican. That's where you get the Echevarria from. And she taught me how to make a mango cake. But just like with any fruit, it's better when either you got to use it frozen or it's almost ready to go bad. Like when you squeeze a peach and it's really, really soft, that's the best time to cook with it because it's still a little firm, but where it won't fall apart, but it's still sweet enough that it's not tart. Like when you get a fruit that's brand new and it's hard, you want to get it where it just gives a little give, and that's the best time to use it when you're baking.
What in your estimation is the best country for food or the best place that you've been to
Oh my
for
God,
food?
that's a hard thing because even places that you never would think of, like Ireland, people who think, oh, haggis and this and that. Ireland is becoming one of the top destinations for cooking. They have there was an article out that they have the most James Beard Award, and that's the highest award you can get next to a Michelin star for cooking. And for chefs, James Beard Awards is something to look forward to. They're great chefs. They're very expensive, though, but I would say my favorite places to eat is Greece because I love Greek food. Going to Spain, Puerto Rico, Cuba, the great South here in the United States. I always recommend that anybody that's going to travel. We have some of the best states in the world and national parks. Like I tell people, oh, I've been every place. Have you been to the national parks? Have you been to Savannah, Georgia? Have you been to Jacksonville here, the oldest city in the United States? Where have you been? So we always say, not not that I don't like sending you outside the country and seeing the world, but we get some of the best food. And I gotta also say I'm from New York, and here in Florida, like I said, I love the fruit, but you can't get a good knish or hot dog or a slice of pizza or Chinese food. Certain foods you can only get in New York City, and it's the best of the best of food. So I'm always going to say number one is New York, but those other places, and like I said, it's also what our palates are changing so much. I didn't used to like spicy food, meaning pepper, hot pepper, not not like seasoning. Seasoning. People get confused with seasoning and spice. And now I'll ask the chef, how hot is the pepper? And if he's going to tell me my mouth is going to blow off, I'll say, well, just give me a little bit in there. I just want a little bit of that heat. I don't want to be, you know, shooting my mouth off. Or, I always ask, well, what kind of new spices can I cook with? So I'm always asking either the chef or the waiter, trying new things. I always tell my clients, try new things. Don't look where McDonald's is. If you're going to Spain, you want to eat at, some place that makes paella, or you want to go to a place in Greece that makes the best moussaka, which is almost like shepherd's pie. So you want to eat the authentic food of where you're traveling to, and not just looking for the American stuff, because you're not going to be, you're spending all this money to go there. Eat like a local, and you'll also save money eating like a local versus eating like a tourist.
Well, that makes sense to me, Cheryl. And speaking of tourists and tourism, could you give us, all of our listeners, how they can reach out to you if they want to take the trip of a lifetime?
Well, I always tell my clients, if you're interested in reaching out to me, my email, and I'm sure Renee's going to give updates on this because it's a long email, so I'll read her comments and description of the show. It's reservations@EchevarriaTravel.com. My phone number is 407-910-6469. If you need to text me, it's 631-456-5394. And I'm on all social media channels. I'm on Facebook, Echevarria Travel. I'm on LinkedIn, which I don't use as much, but Facebook Messenger is the best way to reach me, or by email. When you do reach out to me, I may send you a link to set up an appointment with me. I do work from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and I tell people I do business meetings in between and doctor's appointments. So that way I am not, your time is my time, your time is precious to me. Please set up, my calendar will be sent to you. You'll pick a date and time, and that time is for you. I shut off my phone, I shut off my email, and we discuss everything. My consultations are free. I do charge a $100 planning fee, but that is for my time for planning your trip from A to Z. That's non-refundable. But it also, I tell my clients that's basically for clients that are looky-loos, they're trying to get the lowest price and this and that. And I really had, during COVID, I had to put in a planning fee because I was losing a lot of money. And I want to put it out there that there's a big myth that when you work with a travel agent, you're spending more money than if you did it through Costco or an online booking engine. Other than my $100 processing fee for your planning fee, I do not charge anything. I get paid through commission through my tour operators and cruise planners, and they do not charge you more for using a travel agent. I find that when people are saying we're more money than they booked online is because they weren't asked, do you want specialty dining? Do you want excursions? Do you want a drink package? And that, yes, will bring up the price of your trip because that is not included, or your travel insurance is not included. So somebody may have $1,000 trip because they didn't add all that stuff, and their neighbor is going on the same cruise with them, and they're paying $300 more, and they're trying to figure out why. It's because I asked all the questions of all the extras that you want, so that way you don't have to pay for it when you're leaving your trip. So that's the only difference if somebody's paying more than the other person is what you're getting in your package when you're traveling.
Well, thank you so much, Cheryl Echevarria at Echevarria Travel. If you're blind or visually impaired, or if you have any other disability, Cheryl's the person to reach out to. Even if you're not, she is an amazing person, a travel agent who will get you the trip that you want. Thank you so much for being with us today, Cheryl.
And thank you so much, Renee. I've been looking forward for this for a long time. I can't wait to hear the podcast.
Well, thank you. And if you would like to reach out to us, we're at www.cookingwithoutlookingtv.wordpress.com, www.cookingwithoutlookingtv.wordpress.com. And as we like to say, we're changing the way people see blindness. Take care. Have a wonderful day, Cheryl.
Thank you, Renee. Have a great day.